Hello and welcome to Israel Update. I'm Gadi Taub in Tel Aviv, and my colleague Mike Doran is not in Washington, D.C. Mike, where are you?
I'm in New York City. Hello, Gadi.
With low-grade equipment. Mike,
I apologize.
Mike, if you didn't know already, is a senior fellow at the Hudson Institute and the director of the Center for Peace and Prosperity in the Middle East, a center that must have a lot to do these days. But Mike, let me first show you what routine life in Tel Aviv looks like. And for this occasion, I measured how much time it takes me to, when a siren blows, to get down to the shelter with no hysteria, without running. It takes 33 seconds. You can look at it now. And we have 90 seconds till a rocket arrives from Gaza. So here it is. היי, מיכאי.
So, Gadi, it takes you 33 seconds to go down, and it takes 90 seconds for a rocket to come from Gaza. How long does it take before the siren blows? After launch.
I think that it's pretty much immediate, because in Sderot they have 15 seconds, so it must be. I mean, it's calculated into it, but apparently radars detect it as it goes out of Gaza, so it's probably just a fraction. So the news bulletin, Mike.
Oh, okay, Gadi, we've got 6 headlines. The first is that the attacks on Gaza continue, including with a ground incursion. The IDF spokesperson said that there are 450 terror targets have been hit only in the last 24 hours. Number 2, in a televised address to the nation, Prime Minister Netanyahu said yesterday that never again is now. This is Israel's second war of independence. It's a war for our very survival that will be long and tough, and we shall prevail. Number 3, Hamas floated an offer for a hostage exchange in the press. Allegedly, this came from Yahya Sinwar, the head of Hamas in Gaza. He offered an everyone for everyone deal. That is, all the hostages that Hamas has in exchange for everyone that is detained by Israel. Number 4, Prime Minister Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant met with the parents of the hostages last night. Number 5, before a massive crowd in Istanbul on Saturday, Turkish President Erdogan declared Israel a war criminal. He said, among other things, that everyone knows that Israel is just a pawn in the region and it can be sacrificed whenever the time comes. The number 6, Israeli Foreign Minister Eli Cohen reacted to those statements from Erdogan by calling for the return of Israeli diplomatic personnel from Turkey to conduct a reevaluation of relations. Back to you, Gadi.
So what do we have on the agenda today? We'll devote quite an amount of attention to the thorny questions of the hostages heating the debate here in Israel. I visited some of the demonstrations. We have some footage from there. We also spoke to the son of a police officer who fought gallantly and sacrificed his life to save people in a few different battlefields on October 7th. And then we'll discuss the larger context with Iran and ask whether the attacks on American forces and the reactions by the Biden administration are in any way a turning point. But first, we turn to the hostages. Mike, is a deal feasible in your opinion?
No, I don't think a deal is feasible. I mean, I think Netanyahu is in a very difficult position here because he has to keep telling his own people that he's working to get the hostages out. But the only way that Hamas is ever going to do a deal on the hostages is if Israel stops its campaign. So the campaign has to go forward. I don't see any other way.
The Minister of Defense, Yoav Gallant, said as much. He said the best and only efficient way to get the hostages is to pressure Hamas as much as possible, and this means to continue with the attacks. As you said in the bulletin, both of them, the Prime Minister and the Minister of Defense, met with the hostage families, and I went to the demonstration where one of the parents who met Netanyahu spoke there in English. Let's see what it looks like in the outside Tel Aviv Museum yesterday night. What you see here is the long table with the empty chairs waiting for the missing hostages. This is the official demonstration, the official occasion of the committee for the return of the hostages. And now you will hear Malki Shem Tov, who has a son there, speaking.
We've been for a long meeting with the Prime Minister, Gadi, and other people. We were very loud and clear, speaking about the situation now. We were speaking about our concern, about what we feel, and about our worry about the military operation that have been done or done now. We are very worried about our dearest that they are there, and we don't know that if the whole military operation take all these hostages under consideration, that nobody will be injured. And of course we say that we want all the hostages back home, all the hostages. It will not be part by part, it will be all the hostages with any negotiation that will be with the enemy.
Bring them now! Bring them now! Bring them now! Bring them now! Bring them now!
So we were very clear about that all the hostages will come back home with any kind of negotiation that's done or will be done, that we want all back and we don't care what they will give for that. So that's what we were very clear. Prime Minister was listening, he was listening to everything, and he said that he will do everything for that. Thank you.
So Malki Shem Tov is a person I met, so maybe I can add a little angle to this before I comment on the end of the video and what the shouting there was about. I was in touch with him regarding some technical problems. We were looking for a studio for some Israeli program that we're producing. And after October 7th, I called him about it. I texted him about it, and he said, Gadi, not now. I'm in the midst of a disaster. My son is in the hands of Hamas. Just to give you an idea of what a small country this is and how it affects everybody. And then I go to this demonstration, and he's speaking there, and he represents the.
So you didn't know that he was going to be speaking there?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
So this is just a guy that you know from your daily life.
Yes,
nothing
it is.
Nothing to do with politics. You went there to go see what was happening, and there he was speaking.
Yes, he was, and he belongs to the forum. He was, as he said, he met with the Prime Minister, and he belongs to the forum of the parents, the official forum, which is in touch with the government. Now, here's what you need to understand if you are looking at Israel from the outside. The fact that he met with the Prime Minister and is working with the government is at odds with some of those claiming to represent the families who belong to the old Kaplan force, the demonstrations or the movement against Netanyahu.
These are the anti-Netanyahu people. So you have, let me just make sure I understand this. This is amazing. You've got anti-Netanyahu activists who have created a forum for the hostages. and they are attacking people who are in the forum for the hostages that's meeting with Netanyahu because he's meeting with Netanyahu.
Not just because as I'll show you another video now, some of these anti-Netanyahu activists immediately tried to organize the family outside the official channels. And what you will see now is amazing, because their demonstration is outside the Kiryat, which is where the cabinet holds its meetings when it is in Tel Aviv. So it's an anti-government, it's an attempt to leverage the hostages against the government with, which Hamas is probably very happy with.
I have so many questions about this. Can I just, before you show the
Sure.
next video, this is just amazing to me, truly. And as I'm listening to you talk, I'm asking myself, are my reactions because of my politics or just because of my basic humanity? Because I find this truly disgusting, what you're saying to me. The last thing that I could imagine myself doing is attacking anyone who has a child that's being held hostage for whatever reason. I mean, my inclination would.
But they're not attacking the families. They claim to represent the families. Now, some of them go to the other forum, and there they do attack them. But their attempt is to represent, to leverage representation of the families against the Netanyahu government, which is why, Kaplan is the scene of it's became the mayor of Tel Aviv, who's a progressive, changed it to Democracy Square. This is where the anti-Netanyahu rallies happen, and look what it looks like now. מה אומר הסרט?
לקשור אותו פה.
תודה רבה. So this I filmed from my car, because I don't go to the Kaplan area, because there it can spell trouble. People know my politics.
I was going to say, this is because you are in Israel a recognizable figure. Everyone knows who you are. You're on television,
and they know my opinions, and they know I'm a conservative. So, but I went to the other forum, and here is people started shouting when Malki was speaking. When he mentioned the prime minister, some people in the crowd were booing. And these people asked, no politics here, please, no politics here. But another started trying to chant, Busha, Busha, Busha. This is their chant.
Shame.
Yeah, they got it from...
Shame on you because you met with the prime minister.
Yeah, or shame on the government, shame on everyone who's of the right. And this is from Game of Thrones, I think they took this chant. So I came there and I thought it was risky, and I filmed Malki, and then it was some leftists on Twitter asked what I was doing there. But as I was leaving, a lone woman shouted, Halvai shetamut Gadi Taub. You want to translate that, Mike?
I hope you die, Gadi Taub. It's that's pretty horrible stuff.
So there is an element, I think it's increasingly smaller and now isolated, of people who cannot get out of the framework of that we've talked about, that as if Netanyahu is a bigger problem than Hamas, and these people are trying to pin responsibility for the horrendous atrocities
on Gadi Taub,
among others. I don't want to pretend I'm alone. No, here,
it's just
anyone.
No, it's just amazing that you who have I can understand anger at the government, I gotta tell our viewers here that I was with you. This is, I don't know what, a year ago, I can't remember, 6-8 months ago in Tel Aviv. We're walking down the street, and Tel Aviv, of course, being super liberal, nobody was saying nasty things to you, but they were coming up and whispering, Gadi, I'm with you, Gadi. My husband's with you.
Yeah,
Those were the good old days.
yeah. No, that still happens because, as you know, the media is overwhelmingly left, and so those of us who are outspoken conservatives get a lot of support in the street. So I'll have to say, not to create here the wrong impression, is that mostly I get encouraging words, and mostly those who are against my opinions don't say so in the street, but occasionally they do. And now that faction of Israeli society is desperate to shift blame for itself, because you understand that these people supported a sarbanut,
Refusing
conscientious
conscious
objection.
objection to military service.
And
The-
clearly, some of the interrogated terrorists are saying, yes, we were encouraged by the fact that the reserve soldiers were saying they'll stop coming to
This
their
gets-
military service.
This gets reported in the New York Times. We may have discussed this on a previous episode. There was a relatively good article for the New York Times about the decision making of Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran leading up to the October 7th attack, and they had the considerations of Hassan Nasrallah in Lebanon, and it said they had him almost a direct quote saying, because of all of the turmoil created by Netanyahu's attacks on the Supreme Court, like instead of saying because of the turmoil, they pinned it all on Netanyahu. I thought it was funny.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. One should ask whether Nasrallah thought, the Supreme Court is being weakened. That's the right time to attack. I may have said this joke before to you, Mike,
Yeah.
or even here. But clearly, what they noted is that the army is collapsing because there were so many refuseniks, and so some of these people are not desperate to shift blame. There are a lot of hero stories from October 7, and we have one for you today. Avi Amar is a senior police officer who heard about the atrocities at home and immediately rushed to the scene. He died in the terrible battle in Be'eri that afternoon. We are joined by his son, Itai Amar. Itai, our deep condolences, and thank you for making the time for us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you walk us through that fateful morning? When and where was your father when he heard about the attacks?
My father was at home. It's a mashav called Otzem. The morning he woke up like everybody in Israel to the sound of sirens, and he immediately checked his group chat with his unit. He's in the special forces. That morning, immediately he went out. He sent us a picture at about 7 a.m. of him in tactical gear that he's heading out. From there, we know he went to Sderot. He met
What kind of tactical gear did he have? He had a vest. Did he have an automatic weapon?
And no, not yet. He got it when he got to Sderot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sderot, by that time, there was an attack on the police station. I think 8 policemen died there. So he reached that spot?
Yeah. He met the superintendent in Sderot, and he fought around the city. He liberated some hostages in apartments that we know of. From then, he insisted with the superintendent because the scene at Sderot was starting to calm down a bit, and he heard about the massacre happening in the kibbutzim. So he insisted he'd be sent there. From there, he was sent to Kfar Aza,
where there was a fierce battle and many victims too.
Yeah, he fought there until the scene calmed down, and he was sent to Sderot again. He fought at the police station. From there, he was sent to Be'eri. In Be'eri, he met another unit separate from his, called Matpa. And they had 2 armored vehicles. Like vehicles that were armored for small arms fire and rocks, nothing too serious.
A police vehicle, not army vehicles?
Yeah. And he talked with their leader, and the leader said there was no place for him to join on the vehicles because they both had 5 crew members each. But he insisted that he had to go on and to help fight in Be'eri itself. From there, we know he took one of the one of the crew members from one of the jeeps out, and he joined himself. From there, we know they managed to get off the jeep once, and they managed to kill a squad of terrorists. And when they got back on the jeep, a second squad waited for them and shot an RPG, one at each jeep, and everyone on the jeep was killed on the spot.
So how did you manage to put the picture together of all his routes during the day?
During the morning period, several people came and told us stories from when they met him during that day. For example, in Kfar Aza, we met a police officer that was with him in his private vehicle. And from then in Be'eri, we met the officer he took off the jeep. Which
So
he
you
could tell us
piece
more.
this in retrospect from the testimonies of other people who were fighting with him.
Yes.
And then there is this famous picture of him, which turned out to be, unfortunately, the last picture of him. Tell us what this picture is.
That picture is in Kfar Aza. In Kfar Aza, after the fight wore down a bit, but there was still active fire, he noticed one of the IDF soldiers who went into shock. He was screaming and crying that he didn't want to go in and fight because he was scared. And my dad managed to notice him, and he just dropped everything he was doing. His friends knew to take his weapon away from him, but they didn't know what else to do. So he dropped everything. He went down and he hugged that soldier.
And told him, it was later reported in the press, Ani Shmo Alecha, I'll guard you. I'll keep you. Yeah. I'll keep you safe. Itai, last thing, you are five siblings, right?
No, from dad we have six siblings.
Six siblings.
One on the way.
So and the oldest is 22. Your sister, and the youngest is how old?
The youngest is 7. We just celebrated her birthday at the end of the morning period.
And on the day of the morning, and on your chair there is a symbol of Magen David. Are you a paramedic? Yeah. And so is your sister.
I'm an advanced EMT.
And so is your sister. We couldn't talk to her because she's on duty.
Yeah.
Itai, our condolences. Thanks so much for speaking with us.
Thank you.
So Gadi, let's move now to Iran, and today we're filming this on Sunday the 29th, and I have to say my mood is significantly better today than it was last Thursday when we did our last episode, and for one simple reason, and that is that Iran has blinked. Hezbollah has blinked. Last week Iran is continuing to try to blur the battlefield, sending drones and missiles from Yemen, sending them from attacking through Hezbollah in the north, making threats. There have been very ominous threats, including from the Iranian foreign minister, saying that if Israel goes in on the ground, Israel's going to get burned. And so Israel's gone in on the ground, and the attacks from Hezbollah continue, but they haven't shifted to another level that threatens very serious war. Iran hasn't done anything dramatic. Now, I don't want to overstate it because, let's not get cocky. Maybe they have something up their sleeve that they haven't released yet. But so far, Israel knocked the chip off of Iran's shoulder, and Iran hasn't done anything. And I think that's a very good sign.
Iran also intensified in what was it, 2 last weeks, its attacks on American bases in Syria and Iraq. How's that going down with the United States that finally retaliated, hasn't it?
Well, they retaliated. They retaliated very meekly. They clearly retaliated against some targets in Syria that were primarily symbolic. The U.S. We don't have a defense minister. What do we have? We have a Secretary of Defense. the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, made this torturous statement where he differentiated between what was happening between Iran and the United States and what was happening between Israel and Hamas. Clearly, Iran is not making such a distinction. Why is the United States so carefully calibrating all of this? So that isn't good, but I mean, the American response was meek and I think ineffective if the goal is to actually deter Iran. But the good news is everyone in the country in the United States now can see the hand of Iran clearly, and they can see that the United States is not, that the Biden administration is not responding adequately. I think that's a good thing because I think it's going to increase pressure on the Biden administration.
There are other disencouraging signs, right? The oil sales from Iran have bypassed the sanctions. The attacks are almost directly acknowledged by direct proxies of the Iran Revolutionary Guard. So is Iran not getting cockier?
Oh, they are feeling their oats. There's no doubt about it, and they have every reason to be cocky because they have all of the initiative in their hands, or most of the initiative in their hands, because they have this offense dominant system they have created. This system that advantages attacks by them. Until we actually start, and it's really the United States more than Israel, until we start making them pay a price for their aggression, this isn't going to be that much better. But they didn't have anything up their sleeve at this stage. They said directly, if Israel goes in on the ground, there are going to be very severe consequences. We're not seeing those, so this is good.
What are the chances that this war, clearly the administration is trying to localize this, right? And say, this is just Hamas and this is just the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. This is not Iran. Yeah. This is not the whole region. But what are the chances that it begin to make the connection even publicly and change course on Iran? Do you foresee that in the possible near future?
I give it a 20% chance. Because I understand how deeply this administration is committed to engagement of Iran, how hard it's going to be on multiple levels, including domestic politics, the domestic political level, to switch to a policy of really working to contain and deter Iran. Just you mentioned the oil sales. That alone, if in order to deter Iran, you have to not just have a few carrier groups in the region. You have to move your non-military means of deterrence into alignment with the military means, which means you have to start enforcing the economic sanctions. That's going to take oil off of the global Iranian oil off of the global market. That's going to raise the price of oil. They don't want to raise the price of oil.
Finally, let me show you another vista of Tel Aviv. This is not exactly Tel Aviv. In fact, it's Ramat Gan. And this has to do with the hostages too. It just is aside from the whole political controversy. And this was, I taped this on Friday before Shabbat. And this is Malacha Shalom, the song we traditionally sing for Shabbat. And citizens were just gathering around a rabbi, a singer, and a guitar player to sing a song to accept the Shabbat.
השלום עליכם מלאכי השלום, ברכו אותנו לשלום, שלום עליכם.
I see what what you're showing us here, Gadi, is that there's this sense of solidarity. This is a song that just happened spontaneously on the street because people are coming together and feel a sense of unity in this time of adversity. Right, that's the point. Right,
Yeah.
that there's but I'm still trying to process what you told us earlier about the clash over the attempt to politicize the hostages. The Israel that I know, and of course, my sort of gut level understanding of Israel, it dates back to when I was a student a long time ago. But the Israel that I know would have been disgusted by any attempt to politicize the hostages. Do you think that the kind of people that are just spontaneously singing on the streets are disgusted by that, or are these two things going on without any communication with each other?
No, I think they are, but as I've said in other forums, the controversy over judicial reform is really an attempt by the old guard elite to preserve its power from democracy. And this elite is increasingly besieged, and it has broken some of the major rules. So after breaking the rule that you do not refuse your military duty for a political controversy, I think the floodgates were open, and now we're seeing this. It's my sincere hope that the general public sees through this, because the media doesn't. The media is encouraging this. The media is so one-sided against Netanyahu that it's not looking for accountability. It's looking to oust Netanyahu. And I hope that what you're saying about the essential solidarity of the wider public will end up of the healthy body of society getting I don't want to use physical metaphors, but expelling this element which is willing to corrupt everything in the service of one obsession. It's the never Netanyahu, one never Bibi. That's the one obsession that we need to do a separate episode on, because I think it explains a lot, and there are deep reasons for why Netanyahu has been chosen for, I'd say, the scapegoat of exercising their own nightmares and ghosts. That's all the time we have for today. Mike, at what hotel will we catch you in our second episode this week?
The second episode, I'm going to be out in the West somewhere. We'll have to wait and see where we are.
Okay, so we won't divulge any more military secrets for today. Thanks for watching us. Mike and I will be here towards the end of the week.
See you next time.